with Beard! Hey, podcast kittens, it's Cathy Cat and...
Ladybeard coming at you with another enthralling episode of Cat with Beard! Come on, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm talking about! We are back again with my dear friend Hartley Jackson. How are you, sir?
I wish I had that energy.
Oh my goodness! Just seriously, just grab a piece of paper and throw it around. It's good. Just have a go. Yes, that's what I'm talking
That
about.
feels good.
Yes,
Yes.
come on,
Do it again.
Yes. We
Okay.
don't need any
Try the
scripts
Yes.
in this podcast. This is
I do. What are we talking about next?
I think everyone in the studio right now is starting to sweat a little bit. They're
Yeah.
like, please don't do this to the microphone.
I don't know. Well, I hope you've got a script because mine's totally out of order. How are you,
We
sir? This is our second
spoke.
episode with Mr.
Very good.
Mr.
Thank you for having me back. Wonderful.
Well, good to see you again.
Yeah.
Now, just on a break before we hit roll. We're talking last time a lot about pro wrestling and how you got into wrestling and so how I started training with you and so forth. Now, the Japanese style of wrestling and training in Japanese wrestling.
Yes.
It's going to
Everyone-
be today's main topic. It's the
That's
Japanese style of wrestling.
What we're here to talk about.
Exactly. Even if you know wrestling, you probably find something out in this episode that you might not know from before.
Yeah, for those of you who are wrestling fans, or not wrestling fans, but, Japan fans, life in Japan in all aspects is very different from life everywhere else.
Yeah.
And that includes things such as pro wrestling, which we have elsewhere, but not like they have it in Japan.
And I would like to find out more about this. Now, one of the things is, what really surprised me is compared to Germany or other countries, I see so much wrestling. I see wrestling posters at stations. I see trucks driving past with like loud music having all the wrestlers on it. I see female, male, mixed. There's a lot of hype here about it. It seems to be like it's a great community. Like,
Yeah,
is it bigger here than in
fan
other
base.
places? How is it?
It is.
Yeah,
It's much
I
bigger
think so.
here. I mean, obviously, America's number one through TV and international
WWE
markets
and
and
everything.
stuff. They can break through to the world. Whereas Japan really has its niche market, but everyone really comes on board to support it, which is great.
I feel it's cultural here.
It is. It's cultural because they've grown up with that fighting spirit.
Yeah.
You know, and not just fighting spirit from pro wrestling, but from sumo, from everyday life.
Kickboxing.
Yeah.
MMA kind of had its... MMA got its initial kind of kick of fame in Japan, back with Pride and everything.
Yeah,
Before
definitely.
the UFC.
So many numbers, names, and letters.
Welcome to my... Hey, what does IRL stand for?
Oh,
this is
God,
the
you were
flip version of
slipping
that,
over
young
now
lady.
with the abbreviation. So when you were just mentioning all those names were like different types of leagues, no?
So everything we just said, these are all different styles of fighting.
Yeah.
See?
Okay.
So MMA is mixed martial arts. So that's when you watch the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship,
Oh, okay.
which I know you do a lot of. I can tell from looking in your eyes that you love the UFC. So when you do things like that, that's MMA. So that actually, back in like the 90s and so forth, that kind of really developed in Japan. It was the first. Japan was the first big market for MMA, really.
Yeah.
So the fighting spirit in Japan is something that kind of underpins the culture very much.
Spirit. We were mentioning in the last podcast that kind of like no matter how many times you get beaten down, you get back up. That kind of like valuing
Right.
that.
And that's a big value of a lot of professional wrestlers is, no matter how many times you do that, you get knocked down, it's every time you stand back up.
And as we discussed in the last episode as well, that's part of Japanese culture. You study hard and, you
trying
work
hard,
very
ganbarism,
and-
ganbarimasu.
Yeah, that's it, 100%.
100%. So,
How is the training style different? You were mentioning like 100 million squats or something.
you
What else?
trained
Yeah.
with in the New Japan Pro Wrestling Dojo.
Yes, this both here and also the one in LA, which was where I trained with Antonio Inoki, who's like the godfather of professional wrestling here in Japan.
For the unacquainted, New Japan Pro Wrestling is the biggest pro wrestling company in Japan, and their reputation is they have the highest standard of wrestling, but also they beat the colored monkey out of each other. So training in their gym is quite the experience. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
definitely. Like I had trained in Australia for 6 years prior to having that kind of experience, and we did cardio work, we did push-ups, we did squats, but not to the magnitude that the Japanese style puts upon you. It's almost like that's what builds that fighting spirit. You can't just get it. You can't just have it. It has to manifest and
Has to slowly build
up.
through agony.
Yeah, and I mean, the
Prolonged
first day,
agony.
I remember we had a 5-minute break. I had to go collapse in the bathroom for like 3 minutes, then get up and go, okay, we're going to keep going.
After 6 years of training, you
Yeah.
collapsed on the first day.
Oh, yeah. It was so brutal. And your legs were so sore the next day. And then the next day was scheduled for kickboxing. And because you've already done 500 squats plus 300 jumping squats and then 300 like little forward jump squats, then you do your push-up. Your body was just so sore that when you held the bag for kicking, you'd fall over.
Yeah,
Back
of
up,
course.
kick, fall over again. But it built that spirit, that fighting spirit. And that's just one of the oranges
In my
of pro wrestling.
so the oranges are back.
Well, watch the last episode if you don't understand the joke, ladies and gentlemen.
No, you just skip that one. I think that's yeah.
Just listening to this right now, like in my head, it sounds like a martial arts movie montage. The kind of like dun 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 dun.
Yeah, it
Kind
is.
of
And
like the fighting montage of like literally
Yeah.
like collapsing in the toilet, getting back up, falling over. It seems rougher.
because
then.
that's what they want to do is like weed out the people who don't really have that passion for it. Because if you have that passion for it, you'll do anything to be there. And that's what I remember is when I got to that dojo, I was like, there is no way I'm going to go. I can't. There wasn't even a thought of going home. It's whatever they throw at me, I'm going to do, no matter how much pain I was in. And that kind of separates you from the rest of the world. And that's what builds a great, strong pro wrestler.
I was wondering about that because it sounds so rough. How many people usually try and enter at the same time? How many people quit?
About 95% don't make it. More, I'd even say. Out of every 100, there would be 5 that will go on. Over the course of, statistically speaking, in my experience.
So you're one of the 5% then?
You got to get a singlet made with 5%.
Yeah.
And in Japan, a lot of the time they leave high school to go live at the dojo and become pro wrestlers.
Yeah.
So that's your life day in, day out.
That's it. And also, like, it's your only source of food, shelter, income. That if you don't have that passion and spirit for it, then you're going to quit and God knows what.
Definitely
then.
not for quitters
So
then.
at the New Japan dojo, talk us through like an average day in the dojo.
So we'd get up at about 7 or 8. That's when we'll do the cleaning.
Clean the dojo.
Then you have your breakfast. 11 o'clock is when training would start. So you're
What
there.
type of breakfast do you guys eat?
Well, it very differs now from back then. But back then, I would only have a protein shake. Oh. Yeah, because you're going to not feel very well if you have a full stomach.
Traditionally, they ate rice and Django, right?
Yeah, we still do today, but in the LA dojo, that kind of wasn't a thing.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, we had to look after our own meals there.
Django is that sumo soup. That soup.
Oh.
The sumo. Yeah, the pro wrestlers eat that too.
So when we
Protein
come here to
soup.
Japan, that's all made. But no one kind of eats in the morning here. They'll train, then lunchtime.
You don't want to throw up at training. Okay, so training 11 till like 2 or something?
11 till 2, and then we have off time, and then 5 o'clock we would actually have a professional personal trainer come in to teach us how to do
Oh, to do your weights?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you get your ring training in the morning and then your bodybuilding at night?
Yep.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, and then nighttime we have off to do whatever we want, but that's when the Mexican wrestlers would come in and train. So we would sometimes join their class and do that too, if we were okay.
That's amazing.
And
So
then
you
they'll
kind of
get
learn a
drunk
little bit of
and-
that style then?
A little bit. I'm not. It's very opposite, and it's enjoyable, but it's very difficult,
Hang on.
especially after.
At the end of all that training, you then get drunk.
No, they did.
The Mexican guys got drunk.
Yeah, I never used to drink that much back then compared to today.
I feel all the wrestlers in Japan really drink a lot. It seems like that's a part of the culture as well.
They can hold their liquor.
Yeah, it's almost like after shows you go out on what could be called like a sponsor dinner or a sponsor meal, where the sponsors and of the event will come along and there's endless food and drink. And sometimes you're not back at the hotel till 6 a.m. in the morning.
And then you're getting up at 7 though.
Get up at 7, so you're like,
training.
lay down, get up, on the bus, go to the venue, wrestle, same thing, sometimes 9-10 days in a row. And it just becomes lifestyle.
And is the drinking, in your opinion, is the drinking and getting drunk and then having to wake up while you're still drunk or hungover and then having to go and wrestle anyway. Do you feel that's part of this fighting spirit kind of culture?
Yeah, because you've got to push through no matter what. And you have to deliver. It's almost like the same with me and the other wrestlers as well. Is like you flip this switch and then you're in pro wrestling mode. And it's not like we drink before before the match. Like I'd never do anything like that. But sometimes you'll stop drinking at 5:59 a.m. Once it switches over to 6, it's like, okay, we'll call it's a new day. We're okay.
It's a new
It's a new day. I'm not going to drink today. I'll drink tonight, but not at the start of today. So if you wrestle at 9 in the morning, that's no problem. You're not drunk.
Whoa.
Okay.
So that's apparently endurance seems to be a lot of the things. Lots of endurance
and just
and
suffering
spirit.
and keep continuing to keep going, yeah?
So then when you're old and burnt out, you just want to throw yourself off a building.
Oh my gosh.
We just, skipped ahead a few chapters, didn't we? My goodness.
So with that Japanese style, lots of training, how often would you then actually have matches that people watch?
We used to do a weekend of Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
3 days in a row?
Yeah, but if you're on like a full schedule, like here in Japan, the younger boys will be doing their training 4 or 5 times a week, but then there's shows 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 10 days in a row. Yeah, your schedule can change so much, but they have to train every day and then also do office duties like fold posters, send out cards, go to other shows, sell tickets, drive someone here, drive someone there. So it's really, really full on. Yeah.
Hard work being a young boy.
Whoa. Sorry.
Antonio Inoki.
Yes.
Who is this man, and tell us about your relationship with him?
Absolute legend in Japanese wrestling. He was the one who kind of had a hand in inventing mixed martial arts when he fought Muhammad Ali in the pro wrestling boxing fight.
Do you know this fight? It's a famous fight. It's back in the 1950s, 60s?
60s-ish, yeah.
Muhammad Ali came to Japan and he challenged any Japanese fighter to a fight. And so Antonio Inoki, this legendary mixed martial artist and pro wrestler, fought Muhammad Ali. And it's there was some strange rule when Ali wanted to have all these rules, which would benefit him massively because he was a boxer, of course. But wrestling is wrestling and it's kicking and it's everything, right?
So Inoki would drop down in the classic, he'd
lie down on the ground.
And then kick the leg.
And keep kicking Ali in the legs. And so Ali was very confused because he was a boxer, so he's used to standing up and only punching.
So it was interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of like the birth origins of mixed martial arts. And he created New Japan Pro Wrestling, which stood its 50th anniversary this year, I think it is.
Founder.
He's the founder of New Japan. And he's now a politician.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
You know that?
Which prefecture? Where?
It's Tokyo, Janai? Inoki? Just a minute, viewers.
There's something to do with politics.
Tokyo?
Maybe
Tokyo. He's now a politician.
He
very
founded
famous.
his own martial art wrestling style, and now he's a politician as well.
Yeah.
A couple of wrestlers have moved into politics.
He's a very, very famous man in Japan.
What does wrestling and politics have in common?
What don't they have in common?
It's like Schwarzenegger being voted into
Exactly,
government.
that's right.
It's like this celebrity.
But
action
Inoki's son as
figure.
well. Like he started the biggest company in Japan, so he's also a very savvy businessman. You see, and he was the one who brought wrestling to Japan, and he was the one who So this New Japan.
So it was actually originally Ricky Dozan. Ricky Dozan trained Inoki. Yeah.
Okay, I see.
So there's a backstory there.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But Inoki brought in this Inoki, I sound like such a Westerner. Inoki-san, he brought in this system of super hard training and whatnot.
Yeah, that's what they went through, originally trained, and then once he started teaching, he had his style that he wanted to do. So then there's like a difference between the New Japan style. Then there's another company called All Japan Pro Wrestling, which was started by Giant Barber, and that has its own kind of unique fighting spirit too. So. Yeah, there's, but it was a lot of pain and torture to find the strongest, fighters in Japan to represent their country, and then they'd fly in the big gaijin to fight, and they had to have the people who were the toughest to take on these guys.
So they kind of made up with all the hard training. they made up maybe what in body size some Westerners might have brought from different dojos.
Yeah. So the Westerners who came over were usually really big. You know, you're 6'5", 6'8", 300 pounds.
Back in the day when steroids were a thing that was just something that happened.
And food and beer.
Food and beer.
Yeah.
Beer.
Massive, man.
Yeah.
Massive.
And the Japanese had to fight these guys, and that's what I think made crowds of wrestling fall in love with that was the East versus West battle and the Japanese uprising of finally being able to topple, these big foreigners that were coming over. And then they embraced the foreigners as, part of their pro wrestling. And also a lot to do with Japanese wrestlers going on an excursion to America and training there. So there's a lot of respect between the countries as well when it came to fighting.
And you trained with Inoki-san personally at the dojo?
Yeah, so he would come in a couple of times a week and we'll go through like catch wrestling and training and squats. And we used to have to do bridges, like where we bridge back and then they'll put a broomstick under your back and lift you up so your back was... A
bridge is, imagine
right?
lying on like that but without your hands. You go off your neck. So you go on top of your head.
So your nose has to touch the floor with your toes.
So you're lying, imagine lying on your back with your back curled all the way around so that your nose, your face is touching the mat here and your feet are touching the mat there and you're a big arch.
And then they'll sit on top of you with all their weight and you have to hold their weight on top of you while you're holding that arch. And then they'll jump up and down in the ring so it's like
the ring bounces.
Whoa.
You see, so.
And then you have to do the splits as far as you can.
The splits!
So, and then you sit down, so it's split as far as you can, and then they'll lay on your back so your face touches the floor in front of you, and if you don't work on your flexibility, you'll pop your...
So tear your tendons apart.
And they don't care if you tear your tendons, you should stretch.
Oh my
I love the attitude. How are your splits?
Now, not so good.
Well, fair enough.
But I get to do that to the
young boys,
to the guys. That's my
must
job
feel
now.
good.
How are your splits?
Oh no! I think you've done more splits
No.
than me.
Yeah.
Now, one thing when I hear all of this, what happens with injuries?
What doesn't happen with injuries? What happens with injuries, Jack?
Like
how
how
do
much time do
wrestlers
you get
deal
to
with
heal?
injuries?
What do you deal?
I mean, I'm always feeling terrible. I'm always sore, but that's normal. So now are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm not really. But I am
You push
in
for
a
it.
pro
You have
wrestling
that getting
way.
back up
In
spirit.
that context.
Like I don't, I'm never feeling hurt. When I'm in a match, I'm in so much adrenaline, so much zone. Maybe afterwards I'm limping and I can't stand up and get up and things like that. And that's what I guess.
Pushing
The,
through.
A lot of these legendary wrestlers, when they're in their 20s and 30s, they are supermen, but then they get to their 50s and 60s and it's really very rough. They can't walk anymore.
So like you might be able to deal with all that damage while you're young, but it will later on affect you?
Well, because you get your injuries and you don't let them heal, so therefore they never heal.
there's a
They
lot
compound.
Yeah, there's a lot of wrestlers now who need walking aids or can't walk or the life expectancy is very short
Very
So
short.
you're sacrificing a lot for that life.
for that passion and
You're in so much pain, I think a lot of the time as well. Part of the drinking culture comes from, well, we're all in agony, so we get drunk, we won't feel it anymore, so let's do that. But then that, of course, then leads to alcoholism and things like this, and so...
So there is a match, and you get some sort of injury, but on the next day you go straight back into training. There's no heal time?
No, if you're on the road, you just don't have a chance
You
to.
just
And it just
figure it
depends on, money, family, how much you want to make.
Yeah.
If you don't do that match, someone else is then possibly going to take your place. So you're okay. You're Genki.
Yeah, you figure it out.
Yeah.
But what about you kind of adjust what you do in the ring to try and save that injury
Oh,
somewhat?
right. So do you let your opponent kind of know, like, look, I just broke my arm yesterday. Can you maybe not touch that one?
Yeah, and they'll touch it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
they will touch
you
it
don't
then.
say. Yeah, you don't say. Yeah. You don't say what's hurt.
I've wrestled with people who are far nicer than your clientele. It seems like, if I said something like that, they'd be like, "Oh, sure, no worries, I'll totally keep it safe."
Yeah, no, it's I forgot. So you just don't say.
You don't say.
Yeah. Unless it's a horrible, like...
Yeah. Leg is up here or something.
Yeah, but I've been in a match where someone's had a compound fracture with their bone coming through.
Oh, God.
And it's not like I've gone, hey, and started. It was like he had to get carried out and everything. So
what's the worst injury you've experienced in the ring, like in the match?
I broke my leg.
In the ring?
Yeah.
In the ring.
Doing a backflip.
Oh,
I used to be a high
So you
flyer
actually
when I was
hurt
younger.
yourself.
Yeah. So I did a backflip, landed, and I was like, oh, that doesn't feel right. Got up, and the guy came off the ropes, and I go to pick him up, and I fell straight over. I was like, my muscle cramp. Then backstage, I got my friend to really, try and work out this cramp. And then I could walk, but I was, limping walking, and I was walking really slow. And after about 2 weeks, I'm like, I might as well go to the hospital,
After 2 weeks?
Yeah.
You went 2 weeks.
And you kept doing
With
matches
a
during that
broken
period.
leg, training
And
with a
doing matches the
broken
whole
leg.
time,
This
So-
is like the essence of hardcore.
Yeah, so you just tape it up, and then it's fine. It's not fine, but it's fine.
Figure it out.
And then, they took the x-ray, and they're like, oh, your bone behind your shin bone is broken in two, stabbing into your nerve. And I'm like, oh, okay.
All right.
Isn't it wonderful being with someone who's completely uninitiated, has never heard any of these stories, and totally unfamiliar?
This is walking around 2 weeks with a broken
Yeah.
leg going on. It's all right, I'm training.
Yeah, and then I had a match. I took 4 weeks off, and then I got given a suplex, which is like a move where you take the person over and slam them on their back, but from the top rope, so it was very high. And I re-broke my leg again.
No!
Yeah. And then, but because it was the bone at the back, it's supported by your shin bone at the front, so I could still kind of do wrestling.
And when you fought Layway, you did not have ACLs, is that correct?
So during a jiu-jitsu tournament, I actually tore my ACL, MCL, everything.
That's
What's an ACL? So
your anterior cruciate ligament, so this ligament on the outside of
Keeps
your
your
knee.
knee stable.
Wait a second, so here.
Yeah, this-
Bringing
yeah,
us
that's
up a little bit for the camera.
So this one here and the one that holds your knee in here.
Well,
so,
all like the little crisscross over your knee.
So they're gone, and
They're gone.
so that was gone 12 years ago, and it was fine, and then just over the course of time, my knee deteriorated, and then
But then you went and you did Layway kickboxing without tendons.
I was kind of hoping he would hurt me really bad so I could get surgery after that. Oh my gosh! But left way fighting is kickboxing, but with headbutts. And there's no gloves. You just have bare knuckles. You just tape up your knuckles with just
National sport of Myanmar.
Yeah. And so that was a legitimate fight here in Japan that I did, and it was amazing. It was really good. But I'm not good at fighting at all. So it was.
One thing that just struck me, you was like, I was hoping there was more damage so you could get surgery. Does that mean that wrestlers actually don't make enough money to get their own surgery?
No, it's just like they would have paid for it if I hadn't got hurt. But here it's actually really great with the healthcare system. I actually had my knee operated on last year, and it was very good. I mean, paperwork was this high. That was the worst of it all, but the actual surgery and everything was amazing.
You got a good
great
deal.
team, yeah.
You got a good deal.
And it was pennies compared to what you pay for at home or in America. So.
We are approaching the end of the time limit.
What,
on this
already? Oh
bad
my
boy.
gosh, there's still so much more I want to ask. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
wrap it up.
yeah, we would like to have you one more time. Would that be okay?
Of course.
Fantastic, thank you.
Well, Mr. Jackson. Sorry, Miss Jackson. Woo! Where can people find you on the internet?
Instagram at HartleyJackson, Twitter at HartleyJackson _
Yes.
And I think that's about it.
All right, no worries. Cathy Cat, take us to the end of this bad boy.
Right, so guys, don't forget, please vote us on your favorite podcasting app, whichever it is. Please give us the highest ranking so this one gets pushed out to more people can enjoy Cat with Beard. And also, if you would like to contact us and maybe you have some questions or stuff, write us an email to @joqr.net. And also, please come find us on YouTube. We have now a YouTube channel, so you can actually see all that muscle mass that is in this room here with me right now.
Cat with Beard from Japan is where you can find us. You can find Cathy Cat at where?
At Cathy Cat _TV on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and just generally type in Cathy Cat on YouTube, and you will find me and the channel Ask Japanese that I and Ladybeard. Where can we find you?
And put in Ladybeard _Japan, and also my pop group Babybeard _Japan, and click like and follow on the internet, and send us an email, please. We love receiving email. I received an email today. I have 10 emails, but it was just someone had just written. Their message was in the subject bar, and the email itself was blank. But then they did it 10 times.
Don't do that. Oh.
Don't do that. Send us an actual email.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And we'll see you next time on Cat with Beard!